today's modern meaning of romance, which again is very interesting because when I was checking the dictionary meaning, Oxford describes something as an exciting, usually short, relationship between two people who are in love with each other.
What does that mean, immature love?
We do not let that love mature into a proper course of, I've met this person, I really like this person, and we want to be together. So, how can we grow together?
Every relationship problem that you have with your partner, your children, your team members, your parents starts in the same place. It starts with you.
I'm Dr. Sapna Sharma. I've spent 20 years as a relationship and parenting counselor, sitting across from people who are hurting, confused, and looking for answers, but all in the wrong places.
And I'm Raju Panjwani, 2 marriages, loss, rebuilding, and I've spent years coaching senior leaders on what it actually takes to show up consciously at work and at home.
So here together we are going to have the conversations most people avoid. There's no prescription here, just conversations.
About love, about marriage, heartbreaks, and what it really takes to grow. We hope this strikes a chord with you, and we hope you join us. This is the Relationships and Marriage Podcast. Welcome to the very first episode of the Relationships and Marriage Podcast. I'm Raju Panjwani, and with me is Dr. Sapna Sharma. Dr. Sharma spent years helping people see clearly because she was an eye surgeon, and now helps them see each other clearly as a relationships counselor for the past 20 years. Today's topic is, does marriage kill romance? Or are we just immature and about love to begin with? So Sapna, you've sat across many couples, hundreds of couples. What do you see? And what actually is romance?
It's a very elusive word. If you ask the same question to men and to ask the same question to women, you'll probably get different answers from them. Interestingly, when I was thinking about this topic, I just thought that let me check out the dictionary meaning of it and the word origin, where it comes from. So it originates, there's a Latin word called romanis or romanicel, something like that, which basically means the way of the Romans, how the Romans speak. Right? It had nothing to do with the kind of romance we imagine. So later on, when it evolved in French, it started taking the meaning of, it would often talk about the tales which were said of adventure, of chivalry, of the people who would go out on wars, the knights, right? And their chivalrous behavior. That is what was the romantic tales were about. And then slowly it started to took the turn to the today's modern meaning of romance, which again is very interesting because when I was checking the dictionary meaning, Oxford describes something as an exciting, usually short relationship between two people who are in love with each other. Okay. Now it also says it's a feeling of excitement and adventure. And like I said, the term was used for people who would be away. Okay. So telling the tales of people who would be away. So if you put all of them together, as you can see that romance is a feeling or a gesture of when you're in awe of someone, when someone want to express something very nice for someone. And that is very different from how romance is perceived today. So how romance is perceived today, especially by women and men in love, is to do grand gestures for your love. You show them that you love them. So you get them flowers and you get them chocolates and you get them gifts and you spend time with them. You tell them all nice things about them. You're so beautiful, you're so handsome, and all of these things, all considered to be romance.
So in this modern day era, things have drifted where people came from. I mean, you're in India, I'm in the US. So I see kind of both sides of it a little bit. Is there some way typically to describe what a marriage is for people? Because that's the idealistic thing. Sounds like what you're talking about. What does it mean? People talk about falling out of love, falling in love. People talk about how do we keep the romance alive at a later age in life. I mean, these are all crazy things that come up. I mean, particularly, as I see people in my walk of life, 50+% divorce is like very normal here. Now, that doesn't mean that India, with a very low divorce rate, increasing now, accounts for happy marriages either. So it's like, what is with this, obsession with marriage and then, this vision that we're going to go, be in love for the rest of our life and live happily ever after? People that come to you, what do you see?
Love is basically a very confused emotion. We don't really know what it is. You can actually be very silent with a person, not do any of these so-called grand gestures to express your love, but you can still be very much in love with that person. You are in awe of that person, you have respect of that person, and you really look up to them. That is even possible. So let's keep the word love aside. Let's talk about marriage and romance, which is our topic today. Going by the dictionary
I only brought
definitions.
it up because, you said in the romance, in the description of many words, that, the idea of being in love is
Yes,
romance
it's
in a way.
expression of being in love, right?
Okay.
The definition which I brought forward, it contained a few words like romance, which associated with romance is short relationship. It
Yeah.
has excitement, it has adventure,
Adventure.
there
Yeah.
is distance. Okay,
Mhm.
for someone who's far away, that's where the word originated from. So there is distance, while as opposite to that, marriage is basically stability. Their adventure is not there because there's stability, right?
Yeah.
Then it's basically living together, and then it
Mhm.
means being settled. All of these three things were missing in that original word romance. So
Sure.
basically these two things are very different. And when we so-called fall in love and we expect to be treated chivalrously, and of course I would expect to be treated chivalrously all my life, but when we
Right.
expect the partner to do grand gestures, feels nice to do it. When we are enjoying that, we start thinking about marriage
Yeah.
without knowing what marriage is.
Well, so in our
Marriage,
topic, marriage kills romance implies that there was romance before the marriage, particularly if
yes,
there's
because
people falling in
I'll tell
love.
you why there was romance before, right? Because this, I keep on saying this again and again, the nature intended growth of the species, so it created two different genders. Okay. Now, during the mating season, okay, all the species, the male of all of the species have been given something to attract the female, right? Some animals dance, some have this particular scent coming out of them, some
Yeah.
would have this beautiful colors during the mating seasons and all. That was basically to attract the female to come closer to the male, right? And I feel the romantic gestures which are done before the marriage by men, mostly it is the romantic gestures to attract the female, to keep her attracted till the time there is no confirmation that the relationship is going to be going for a longer period of time. Okay. Once there is a settlement kind of that you are here and I'm here and we're going to walk the life together, then we start thinking about other things, right? We need to earn money. We need to have
Yeah.
a house. We need to plan for the children. We need to plan our financial future. That is love when you're doing these things with together with each other. You want to grow with each other. You want to have a beautiful house with each other. You want to have children with each other. That's love, right? And so the meaning of romance, when it is extended into the marriage in the same format, that's when the person starts feeling that marriage kills romance.
Right. Yeah, well, you hope so, right? When you're together. What can we do to make sure this so-called romance is alive and feels like this is before marriage?
Now, I think this is becoming too counsely. Let me ask you something very, very personal before we go
Okay.
ahead with that. Because I think, it's easier for all of us to relate to something which is real rather than only
Nice.
talking about things which happen in counseling clinics. So we know that you've been married twice. One was an arranged marriage in India, and another was a love marriage where you fell in love, right? You choose your partner. So, in that context, is there a difference between the love you brought into your first marriage and that you experienced into the second marriage?
Well, that's a big one. First of all, to be clear, I don't knock arranged marriages. Whatever the arrangement is, as far as how it was done by the tradition, still exists in many marriages in India because there's some benefit to that. But regardless of how that was done, the question of the idea of romance is the imagined romance that I had when I had never dated anybody in my life prior to my marriage. So it felt like some things you were mentioning in the definition of romance, like, this adventure, it'll be such a great, lovely feeling, and it'll be togetherness, and we'll go off, have our kids, and all this imagined stuff that we had. So that was mine as well, because I'd never, as I said, been with a woman. I think it's just the idea that there were more complications, in my situation where you actually physically had to go from India to the US and never been to the US before, and no job, starting out our careers, both of us. So it was a little daunting. And we came to New York, which was at that time pretty crime ridden and had a reputation. So those are all circumstantial. But the thing is, for me, the idea pretty well disappeared in the first few months. And I mean, we just liked the idea of it, but then it sort of faded away because then the child comes within a year and a half or so. And then life happens. So you continue to,
But as I understand, you had children in your second marriage also.
yeah. So the second marriage was, obviously 10, 15 years after that first one. an accident in a way that as falling in love happens. And had no idea what happened to me. This was on a New York train, a subway, where this lady starts talking to me. So from the get-go, it just felt like, oh, I don't want to go into this. This is like the adventure romance idea was going to not be the leader of this. But it just happened, and I couldn't feel a different emotion that I'd never felt before. So I guess call it love or whatever. But the idea of that romance continued because one, I didn't want to get married again. But then it happened because this woman who I fell deeply in love with just wanted children, and I was feeling like I was too old to have children at my age and what have you. So, but that was a condition as far as I could tell. And then I felt I could do anything for this lady, and I will do it. So if she wants children, whatever she wants, 2, 3, 5, I was happy to do that. So that to me was like, so I learned a lot about giving to a relationship as opposed to simply taking, and, I want this, I want this. And I think that was a big contrast for me in that relationship.
That's a beautiful thing you just said, giving in a relationship.
Yes.
That's, I believe, is one of the very beautiful expression of love.
I hope that I gave it to the other relationship too, but I just felt like, when you're miserable, that you think you might be giving, but you're not giving, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
yes. Yeah, it has to feel good to both the partners.
Correct, exactly. I'm glad for the contrast that happened, and it is a beautiful thing for me, having seen both sides of it.
Would you go on dates in your first marriage and in your second marriage? Yeah.
Well, I think in my romantic idea of this marriage, I felt we should. I mean, I used to read a lot. I used to understand what couples do or how women, what they expect. It was all bookish knowledge from different things. I mentioned at some point to you, I used to steal my mom's magazines, feminine magazine, and read about women. I felt I could do that. We should plan once a month, once, every few weeks. None of that happened in the first marriage.
That didn't happen because your partner wasn't interested, or there were other reasons?
Well, I just think the idea of what marriage is, a romantic marriage is, was not the same on both sides. I think her thinking, and she said that out loud, is that, families marry families in India. So we're together, back to your point, we're here to procreate. She didn't say those words, but that was the implication that, oh, we'll have our kids and then we'll just live. And I don't know what that meant. And then here we are in the nuclear society as opposed to an extended family and joint family system, which prevailed in India at the time. That was not the case. So I just think it was very hard, particularly with the kids. And then those are the reasons we couldn't go out on dates. Kids are involved.
That's very
We don't want to leave
interesting.
them.
And
Yeah.
that's what life is. That's how life happens. Now, I guess it's more relevant to answer the question you were asking, that what should couples be doing?
That's right.
If marriage kills romance. I personally don't feel marriage kills romance. It's just that are both of you having the same ideas about romance, about marriage, about love? If not same, at least similar. Or can you guys
Mhm.
talk about it and find a middle path to it? And it's easily
Yeah.
possible. Because you spend too much time together does not mean that you shouldn't go out on dates alone. Because
Mhm.
you're always coming back to the same house doesn't mean that you have to be dressed shabbily at home because it's the same person coming home every day. So I believe that it is those habits which bit by bit start killing the romance in the marriage. Because see, romance and attraction, the most important ingredient is the space between the two. The space
Mhm.
is where all the attraction happens.
Exactly.
So once you're married, you believe that, this person is here, not going anywhere. So you start taking that person for granted. And I'm
Mhm.
often referring to this in my lectures and in my sessions, that you have your best clothes and best perfumes for the people who don't know you. You put them on when you have to go out, right? But when you are inside, you are wearing the worst of the clothes, which are almost like, left to be discarded now. That's the only thing
Yeah,
which
no
is
one's
left.
going to see me. Who cares, right?
Exactly. So for that one
Yeah.
person whom you want that person should be attracted towards you, you're not even making that small effort of being nicely dressed, putting on your makeup, or for that matter, maintaining yourself
Yeah.
physical body wise. Because
Yeah.
I often feel, that women or men ask this question, that now that I have put on weight, that the reason that she doesn't love me or he doesn't love me? I said it's not
Yeah.
about love. The basic ingredient of love is attraction. Basic ingredients of attraction is something in the looks which attracted. That is an
I
essential.
would venture to say that that's more men wanting their woman to look good, right? And
No, no, women
feel
also
fit and
want their
healthy.
men to. See, if we're talking about
Women do too,
attraction,
because I think women tend to ignore that.
no, no, no,
I mean, I'm
they don't.
observing that.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. because that's what attracts them. They may not mention that as frequently, but that's
Hmm.
what attracts them. And attraction, that's the basic ingredients of attraction. It's not about like, I've had children now, I put on weight so he doesn't look at me. You can always lose the weight, not for him, for yourself, because you feel better,
Yeah,
right? So when
exactly.
people put on weight, they don't have enough energy. They feel lethargic. So, being there, waiting for your partner, sharing your day with them with excitement, all of that goes missing from marriage because we start taking the other person too much for granted. So it is from both the sides. That effort
Hmm.
has to be continuous. I am surprised when I actually meet couples where at least one of the partners says that why should love be so much of effort? Why should marriage be so much of effort?
Hmm.
While we are willing to put all the efforts into our work till the last day that we are working because we want to be don't want to be overlooked by the management for the promotions, right? We're not willing to put in efforts in the most important things in our life. Now, this person, our partner, is going to be with us much beyond when our jobs end. We're going to be there
Exactly.
with us for longer period. For them, we're not putting in any efforts at all. So romance can be kept alive. It's not marriage which is the killer of it. It's the people who let it go, who do not understand that you have to put in efforts for everything. It doesn't happen on its own.
The second part of our thing was, or is it just that we're immature about love? That's the thing in our topic, right? What does that mean, immature love?
I would say that a lot of Bollywood movies and Hollywood movies also have created an effect about love. That butterfly feeling is what that is love
Yeah.
when you get that butterfly feeling. And very few people are actually looking and thinking beyond. We do not let that love mature into a proper course of, I've met this person, I really like this person, and we want to be together. So, how can we grow together? That is a form of love. If I adopt that form of love, then love becomes mature. Right. If I'm still looking at you don't look at me, you don't do this, you don't do this for me, you don't get flowers, you don't get this. That should be done once in a while. I'm not saying it should be done. But if that is my focus, you know, then love has not matured at all. I would say it is immature love. I would say it is not matured into what it should be, right? Then it is temporary. Then it's not going to last long. To
Yeah,
last
on
long, the
that,
form of love is going to be changing over the period
right.
of time.
On that, I
Some
feel like I think it's about paying attention, right? I mean, is it, we don't say it's dead or I'm not maturing, blaming yourself. It's just about to say, how do you want to get that back? In other words, if you're aware, only then can you bring something to the table, right?
and it has to
Rather
be a
than
lot.
writing it off.
In addition to what you said, it has to be a lot about we.
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
moment it is more about, you don't do this for me, you don't do this for me, you don't look at me, you don't do this. So if it's about me only, it's not going to. We, how are we going together? Because those things might be different.
Hmm.
How are
Yeah,
we growing together might be different. We growing together definitely doesn't mean that you spend all the time together. That's a disaster
yep,
recipe for marriage.
that's
Sure.
true.
You need to have, boys need to have their boys, girls need to have their girls. We need to have space from each other. And
Hmm.
that's how we feel attracted to come back and share and tell and, be together again. So all those are the recipes of the love which matures over a period of time. If
Hmm.
we are able to see beyond me and towards us, I mean, both of us, not
Of
just
course.
one person, it doesn't work. Also looking at, that if he likes this, let me do this. If she likes this, let me do this. Small things.
Absolutely. I think that to me is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
That's romance in the real sense.
If I was to audit romance, I would say maybe think about what it is you're doing and think as far as giving.
Mm.
Not trying to make other person happy. I don't like that because you can't make anybody happy. But you pay attention and then you start to say, okay, what am I bringing to this relationship? Can I be more of a giver in this than wanting this and wanting that? So in your experience then, why do some people, I mean, some couples grow, they still have that romance in the marriage, right? While others feel like that spark has gone, I'm too old. What is that difference between those two types of couple?
You said the word paying attention.
Well, that's
When
where
you
it
stop
starts, I think.
Yeah, when you stop paying attention to what's happening in the marriage, when you stop paying attention to how your partner is talking to you, responding, or he or she is a little off today, or
Hmm.
they're not sharing enough. These are the small little things which are a giveaway. They keep on telling you, and if you do your bits, they say that doing your bits in the marriage,
That's
is a
right.
small little thing. That if your partner is like, you look obviously looking tired, coming, can I get you a glass of water, or I'll just get a glass of water, or your
Just get a
favorite
glass of water.
that you like. It's a very small
Yeah.
thing, but trust me, very, very romantic.
Hmm.
So it's for me to pay attention and, be there. And it's for him to pay attention to understand that, okay, she's doing it. Okay, because
Mhm.
I see a lot of times when I work with couples, one of them would say, I do these things, which are those small little things. And the other
Yeah,
partner is all this time complaining that, he doesn't care for. He doesn't care for. Right. So basically, both of them are speaking different love languages. Right.
exactly.
So, I mean, almost all of us know about the five love languages, so I'll not go into the details of it. But
Right.
that is a
Yeah,
very important thing to understand, because for me, my idea of expressing love for you might be different than as your idea of expressing love for me might be. The giver and receiver both have to be aware of it.
yes. And so, how do you
And
address that? I mean, early on in the marriage, so that you know this is not the boundary, but how you establish this
I
rapport with
feel
each other. That,
conversations, because
uh,
see, these days I feel that everyone has a huge amount of access to the internet.
yeah,
Okay, there's everything out there, right? So even if you just Google that, how can I understand my partner better, you'll get so much of material. You'll get one of the solve it yourself love languages forms also. So
right.
so
Yeah.
there are so many ways. It's basically wanting to look beyond yourself. If you are entering the marriage with just, that what will happen to me, will I get this thing, will I get this thing, will I get that thing, not thing, whatever those things, it's not going to work.
So
Both the
you can go to
partners.
Claude or ChatGPT and they, hey, what do I do? And it's all out there. The
Why
question
not?
has always come down to, do you do it?
Everything is out there. It's, yeah. And in fact, more than doing also is, what intention do you bring into the marriage?
Exactly.
Right? You bring the intention to make it into a beautiful marriage. You can
Right.
always make it into a beautiful marriage. If you bring the intention of taking only in the marriage, and then
Hmm.
you will always feel victimized, and things are not happening according to me, so you're all the time complaining, and so it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Romance can always be kept alive, and I believe that all marriages have their own forms of romance.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So,
Because there's so many things, right? Cultural aspects, where you're from, what you like versus what somebody else
yeah,
likes.
I mean, I know a friend, he gives foot massage to his wife, leg massage to his wife, because he knows that she gets very tired. I mean, I feel that's so romantic,
So beautiful.
right?
Yeah, I love it. Goosebumps. So in terms of, things I see, particularly in my world, one thing I do have in some of the cases where this, comes up with executive coaching with some people, I ask them to do a romance audit. There's an energy audit that I have them do, which is really, they think of it as time management. No, it's your energy management is what it is. Energy is it's just dormant, but you have to transfer it to you to make it happen. So for me, I'm all about energy, physical, mental, and all the other things. So I've had a question I think I may have mentioned in our other conversations, that what was dinner like last night? Okay, with your wife. If there were children, then what was that? But there is a certain things that come out of that. So I said, romance audit. Ask yourself one question today before you go to bed. When did I last do something for my partner that had nothing to do with responsibility, chores, logistics, obligations, right? If you cannot remember, that is the answer.
Exactly.
There it is, right? So there is that. To me, that's a takeaway for guys listening, watching here. To me, that's one. What would be another one for you in terms of the immaturity of love, or maybe a
Again,
takeaway?
I would like to give an example from my sessions. Is
Please.
when I talk about what is your partner missing to the other partner, in sessions, I see most of them becoming defensive.
Of course.
Even it's like, I remember a long time back, I had a client, and he was telling me about, his wife is always complaining. And I get most of the men who come to me, they say that my wife is always complaining. That's a very
Complain.
common statement. She complains about this and she complains about that. She's got headaches, she's got this and that. And he said that when I ask her to go to the doctor, she doesn't go, but then she'll again keep on complaining that this is bad, this is good. And then, so after listening to him for 2 or 3 sessions, then I suggested him something. I said, let's try something. Okay. They were living on their own. It was a nuclear family with a very small child. I said, so no parents around or anything. So just, for no reason, start hugging her 2 or 3 times a day. Take
Mm.
opportunities to say things like, you're looking very pretty, or you are very, I love you so much, and you do these things very nicely. Kiss
Hmm.
her without any intentions. Just do this for about a week, and then next time when you meet, tell me what is the anything from her. And
Hmm.
to this guy says that if I do this, she's always nice. She's always good.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now that really took me by surprise, and I asked him, so why don't you do it? I mean, don't you like it? If you know that this is definitely making her feel better, is it that you don't like it? Right? And
Hmm.
he says that I know this is what she likes, but doing it for a week is okay, but how can I keep on doing it always?
How can I
And this is,
sustain this?
yeah, this is a real example I've given you. And this is what I see often, when the women are asking for very simple things like these, men get very defensive.
Good.
In fact, they also need it. Everyone needs it, but they get defensive because we have these ideas about, if I do everything that my wife wants, then I become a henpecked husband. Will she start
Yeah.
controlling me? But I don't know what it is. So, we were talking about takeaways from this session. I would definitely say that, look at we. If she's happy, you are happy. He's happy, you are happy. Then what are you looking for? Why there is so much of defensiveness and ego in this whole thing? I mean, if you both go on a date and if one of you doesn't take it as an obligation, it's a fun evening, right?
So
If if
I'm
you
all
both,
about framework. So I go, okay, you heard some of this. Okay, so I say the romance audit is none, and then the second point is that you make a daily re-choice about, that's a choice, right? You made intentionally, like I say, I love you, I touch you, or just,
why not? I mean, and when you know
absolutely,
that your partner likes it and you still don't do it, I'm still not able to understand that behavior among many
exactly,
partners. They will not do it
absolutely,
deliberately. So
good,
why not just understand that this is, if one of you is happy, other is also happy, the marriage is happy. If one of you is unhappy, whatever you do, the other cannot be happy, or having a fun life. So it's all
yeah.
about being together and having a great life. Then
Yeah.
it's actually
So
simple.
I think what you're saying is romance is, in a long marriage is not a feeling. It is actually a decision you make repeatedly, right? You do not
Absolutely.
fall in love. So that means you do not fall in love once. You choose it every day in the
Every
little
day with
act.
the same person.
Beautiful.
With
Good.
the same person. It's a choice. And it's very simple.
Yeah,
Doesn't cost you anything.
exactly. So for me, another one that I thought, so the romance audit, the daily re-choice, and the third would be something like in the immaturity love category would be, so immature love will say, what am I getting? As I said earlier, conscious love asks, what am I bringing? I always believe that that's to me, what am I bringing? Not what did I do wrong to upset, my spouse. It's just like, if there is something that you're more introspective about, you will be able to figure that out. Okay. It's not that the romance, is dead. No, I think your consciousness died. So in terms of that, is when you become more, you start to mature about who you really are, and then you also respect. I think respect is a big deal. If you don't respect the other person, we're not talking about abusive marriages, but in just general life, respect is so important, because respect for what the man did at work or the woman did at home, if or vice versa, whatever the roles are these days. I think that's how you
Absolutely.
keep this.
Yes, yes. Because there cannot be a definition of love without respect. You
Yeah.
cannot just claim that I can insult this person, but I love that person very much. We see that a lot in India. We see that a
Yes.
lot in India, and that really surprises me most of the time. And then there's this thing, what do I do everything for?
Yes.
So it's okay, like, if I abuse her once in a while, but that's for some other day, some other
Yeah.
topic. We can talk about that.
Yes.
But definitely, romance can be kept alive if you just realize that you're not doing it for him or for her. You're doing it for a beautiful
For
marriage and
us.
a great life.
Yeah. All right. Well, stay tuned. There's a lot coming, and please comment about what you saw in this episode and what topics you would like to talk about. We love to do that.
Please do let us know that too. How did you take this discussion that we had? We didn't want to keep it prescriptive at all. We didn't want to keep it as a counseling at all. We wanted to talk so that when we're just having conversations, we can talk from both the sides. There's nothing
Right.
right, there's nothing wrong. We're just trying to bring up things which we believe that, it's high time we need to talk about them. So do indulge us and do get involved in our conversations. Share your thoughts, and we would be answering to each one of your
Sure.
comments personally.
And sorry, forgive me, but I do like framework so that people walk away. So unfortunately, that's just me trying to summarize for you guys who are, just want like quick prescriptions. There aren't any prescriptions, but it's just, as we've spoken and talk about situations, maybe you get something out of it. And I like to just simply say, hey, do the romance audit, do your little daily re-choice routine in this case, and be aware of, the languages that your partner speaks. And it's we, yes, not me. All right. Till next time, we're signing off. Take care.
New video, new topic. Next week. See you soon.
Yeah. Bye. If something in today's conversation stayed with you, well, sit with it. That discomfort is telling you something worth listening to.
Before thinking of who needs to hear this and who needs to change, try to introspect. We read every comment and message and reply them personally. Tell us what come up for you.
And if someone in your life actually does need to hear this, send it to them. That might be the most important thing you do today.
Subscribe so that you never miss a conversation.
See you in the next episode.